Going to for the Kathab reading, uh, the book of Numbers, chapter 23. The book of Numbers, chapter 23. The book of Numbers, chapter 23. And it's starting at verse 7. Numbers 23 and verse 7. Numbers 23 and verse 7. Numbers 23 and 7 says, "And he took up his parable and said, Balak, the king of Moab, have brought me from Aram out of the mountains of the east, saying, Come, curse me, Jacob, and come, defy Yasharallah. How shall I curse whom Elohim have not cursed? Or how shall I defy whom Yahweh have not defied? From the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Yaqub and the number of the fourth part of Yasharallah? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his." So this is Numbers 23, 7 through 10. And the king of Moab was trying to get the Israelites to be cursed. And it's just stating here that if we're walking in righteousness with the Most High, then we're protected by his spirit. And no one can harm us or defy us or defile us or curse us. Starting at verse 9, it's talking about an end time prophecy of our nation being above all the other nations and dwelling amongst ourselves and no longer intermingled with the nations as we are today. So that's Numbers 23 and 7 through 10. The next one, you just flip over one chapter. Just flip over one chapter, Numbers chapter 24. Numbers chapter 24, and it's verse 5. Starting at verse 5. Numbers 24 and 5. How goodly are thy tents, O Yaqub, and thy tabernacles, O Yasharallah. As the valleys are they spread forth, as gardens by the riverside, as the trees of lean aloes which Yahweh have planted, as the cedar trees beside the waters. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. Elohim brought him forth out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. He shall eat up the nations as his enemies, and shall break their bones, and pierce them through with his arrows. He couched and lay down as a lion, and as a great lion, who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed is he that curseth thee. So all praises to the Most High for the reading of his word. Again, it's just a prophecy. The Most High is writing about his people and how the Most High is continuing to, water his plants. He said his seed shall be in many waters, like how we will be scattered amongst many peoples, amongst many nations. But the Most High is going to use us to destroy the nations as well. So we know the Most High ultimately has a plan for his people, and he always treats us like, in agricultural terms, he always used metaphors in relations to that. So he talks about planting us, watering us, being the husbandman, and things of that nature. So all praise for that. Anybody have any comments or anything before we jump over to the presentation? No problem. If y'all can see the screen, you could just give a thumbs up or unmute real quick.
We can see it.
Oh, thank you. All right, so I literally had no clue what I was gonna talk about. I thought I did throughout the week, but just battling, going through, or just try to wait and see what the Most High is saying. And I was talking to Nariah yesterday about how schedule kind of got a little bit off after work, and we were just talking about some stuff. And then I think he was getting ready for work or to lay down for work, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go in here. I don't have nothing written down." He was like, "What?" He said, "May the Most High be with you." And you know, this was one of the things that was like on my mind early in the week. So I just focused on this and left all the other little side things out. This is kind of like a leftover from talking about the Messiah in the book of John, and just kind of went and explored this more because I wanted to talk about it originally, but I think I had so much information already at the time, so I wanted to circle back to this and talk about John when he said, when the Messiah says, "I am the true vine. I am the true vine." Salakia for any typos or mistakes, because I was definitely up late. So Salakia for that. So the first thing is in John chapter 15. John chapter 15. John chapter 15, and it's right at the top. John 15. Usually, like in this case, it's on the screen, but turning to it, this is in red letter, meaning these are the words of the Messiah, and I do believe these are the Messiah's words. Probably it could be paraphrased or not exact because obviously he was speaking Hebrew, but John 15 and verse 1, it says, "I am the true vine, and my Abba is the husbandman." My Abba is the husbandman. So the Most High, like I was saying earlier, he is like the planter. Husbandman is like the person who is doing the gardening and things of that nature, if I'm saying it correctly. Verse 2, "Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you." Verse 4, "Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me." So we're gonna kind of look into this word divine, the vine, here today, and really understand and try to understand what the Messiah was talking about. And you're gonna see this scripture again towards the end. So verse 5 says, "I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abideth not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned." I'm gonna go into like more detail as it goes, but just kind of want to read that first and get that out there. So even just looking at the picture of the cluster of grapes, um, the cluster of grapes, uh, the cluster of grapes kind of represents us, the nation, the 12 tribes. Even Abijah, he did a presentation about why we're um, the nation that the Most High has chosen, and things like that. And we both did a program about, is the Most High unfair, kind of talking about the same thing. The vine that holds the cluster of the grapes together is Yahweh Shai, and the one that does the planting that's over all of us is Yahweh. So keep that in your mind as he's saying, I am the vine and ye are the branches. We are those cluster of grapes, the 12 tribes, and Yahushua is that vine there that is holding us together. So, if anybody, you can type it or you can say it. How would you say this word right here in Hebrew? You can type it or you can unmute. Tazabah said it's Gapan, Gapan, Khan. So this word right here is Gapan. Gapan is the word that's most commonly used for vine. Gapan is the most commonly word used for vine. So we have three characters here. We have the Ga. The Ga is like a representation of a foot, sometimes a camel. Um, we have the Pa. The Pa is kind of like an opening or a mouth. And we have the Na. The Na is like a seed. A seed. And let me go here. So Tazabah is correct. It is Gapan. Gapan is the word most commonly used for vine. And when the word is used, it's often referred to as vine in relation to grapes. Vine in relation to grapes. And so when Yahushua is saying, I am the vine, he's saying, he is Gapan. He is Gapan. He is Gapan. So according to Blue Letter, they don't have anything here that's like mind blowing or anything like out of the ordinary. They just say that the word, obviously they use Gafin or Gapin because they use vowels now. But you can see there 54 times is the most commonly word used for vine. And the usage is vine or vine tree. It's figuratively used at times for us as a nation, Israel. There's a prophecy as well that they use the word for as stars fading at the Most High's judgment. And also it can be used of prosperity. And especially a lot of times when you're cheerful or merry, having a good time, grapes are used to create wine as well. And wine is used often in celebrations or gatherings, things of that nature. And then when you go down to the last part, the bottom, it says it's from an unused root, meaning to bend a vine, especially the grape or vine tree. So it's often used most commonly as vine and is in relation to grapes. The first witness that I wanted to use here for vine being a figure of speech for the nation is Psalms 80, 7 and 8. Psalms 80, 7 and 8. And it's right on the screen, but I just want to turn to it and make sure in case I made a typo or something. So Psalms 80 verse 7, it says, turn us again, O Yahweh Tazabah, and cause thy face to shine, and we will be saved. Thou hast brought a vine out of Egypt. Thou hast cast out the heathen and planted it. Thou hast cast out the heathen and planted it. So it's not used that often, but the Most High does compare us to the vine or a vineyard a few times in His Word and in the Scripture. So Psalms 87:8 is comparing us to a vine that He brought out of Egypt and He planted it, um, just like it said in Numbers how He planted and is watering His people. Tazabah is kind of looking at the word and seeing how it's in relation to vine or a cluster of grapes. And he says that in the chat, he says the foot opens the seed, as in the custom of stepping on grapes. He says the foot opens the seed, as in the customs of stepping on grapes. Because when you look at the characters, a lot of times in Hebrew, let me see if I can go back. So when you look at the letters of Hebrew in Hebrew, the characters have multiple meanings, which we'll cover in a couple of slides. But also, they're functional. So to try to figure out what they mean, a lot of times I try to think of the function of what that character could be doing. What that character could be doing. So he's saying that foot that you see represented by the God, uh, you could imagine pressing down, on the pie, and in that custom of stepping on grapes, which in the end they use to create all kinds of things like obviously juice or wine as it's fermented and things like that. So all praises for that witness. Joyce or Zahaba.
I wanted to look at Gapan as well. So the Ga actually meaning it can mean gather, and then the Pa could mean a gap, and then the Na being the seed. So it makes sense that the Messiah is the vine because he is the one that stands in the gap for us. And like the Bible says, I am the vine, ye are the branches. If you abide in me and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. And so we know that without the Messiah standing in the gap, standing in the breach, standing in pretty much in between for us to be reconciled back to the Father, it makes sense of how he is divine as well. So I was just kind of looking at it that way.
Khan, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Standing in the gap for us, and um, just like when you think of the order of it too, like I was saying, we're the cluster of grapes. He's the vine, and then the vine was planted by the Most High. So he's the way back to the Father. So that's a good way to process it for sure. Anybody else has something pressing? We ain't done with the word, so you could just unmute anytime or raise your hand.
Can you hear me out?
Kaya said she not for sure. We say here it's okay to be strong and wrong. So you want to unmute and read it? She was like, no, I don't. Jeremiah 2:21.
Con, I was pulling it up.
All right.
So it says, um, 21. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me?
So yeah, all praise for that. Again, this is a second witness actually to using the vine for us specifically, and not the Messiah, but using it for us specifically in a figure of speech. That how he planted us as a righteous vine, that we're supposed to be righteous, but our people, we just went off the hook and turned wicked. Abijah got his hand up. Since I know he where he at. I'll let him go first.
Shalom, family. Can you hear me?
Con.
So the first breakdown was just the external, the glyphs on the surface, but the secondary Hebraic context of Kapan is the Messiah, because the foot is representing marching as well. That's the one of the words for being a soldier or fighting. Fighting is Gabar, or a soldier is Gabar. Mighty is Gabar. So the foot also represents a soldier doing footwork. So Messiah being the divine, he's working or marching to open the seed of Jacob up back to life. So that's why it's so important to really grasp the glyphs and come back to the culture, because we can see Messiah is just magnified throughout the scriptures. Him being called the vine, he's marching, he's working to open up the seed of Jacob back to life, back to the covenant. So I just wanted to add that. Water.
All praises for that, Tazabah. Nariah.
Khan, just to land me back off what Abijah just said, when I look at the word Gaban, the God itself, could be looked at as a foot, but I also look at it, if you're familiar with farming, it looks like the farming tool, like a hoe that can be used. And I'm not necessarily familiar with what it does, but we know the farming tools can be used to break up the ground. So to Abijah's point, the farming tools to break the ground up to cause the opening, the pie, and then the knot to plant the seed. I can look at that as working to open up the seed of Jacob as well, with what he was just saying. So when you look at the different precepts after saying that, we know the Most High is the living water, but what he said to the lost Israelite, if you knew who you were really talking to, you would ask me for this water, and I'm paraphrasing, but I just say all those things just to say, the dry ground, the dry bones, the Most High pouring out his spirit, the living water over us. And it's after Yahushua broke up the ground to be nourished by that living water. But I'll yield with that.
Con, that's great. I mean, all these things are going to come up as we continue to go further as well. But that you said some good stuff right there for sure. I'll expound on it in a second. So again, Kaya actually added a good precept here because, like I said, us being used as divine as well in a figure of speech. Psalms 87:8. Thou hast brought a vine out of Egypt, and then she gave us Jeremiah 2:21. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine, a holy right seed. So that is a good witness to this part of it as well. So I wanted to go to one of our favorite scriptures. Here it's in the Apocrypha. It's in the Apocrypha, 2nd Ezra, chapter 9. And just to continue that metaphor that the Most High is using of how he chose one grape of the cluster, how he's using these agricultural terms to describe, his people. And I'll start at 18. 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 18. 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 18. Verse 18 says, And now when I prepared the world which was not yet made, even for them to dwell in that now live, no man spake against me. For then everyone obeyed. For then everyone obeyed. So in the beginning, when he created the world, before he made the covenant with Abraham, he's saying that everyone was being considered and everyone obeyed. He said, But now the manners of them which are created in this world that is made are corrupted by perpetual seed, and by law which is unsearchable rid themselves. 20. So I considered the world, and behold, there was peril because of the devices that were come into it. So as he considered the world, it was just so much wickedness in it. And he said, I saw the wickedness and spared it greatly, and have kept me a cluster, a grape of the cluster, and a plant of a great people. So now he's saying he chose to keep one grape of the cluster, or one plant that he's deciding to work with and cultivate. And he says, let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept in my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect, the husbandman. So the Most High is saying that he's deciding to choose to work with one nation of people, one grape of the cluster, and we know that group of people is Yasher Allah, Yasher Allah. Continuing as well with the same theme, sometimes we are used in the term of being the vineyard as well, being the vineyard, and we can find a relation to that in Isaiah chapter 5. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 1 through 7. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 1 through 7. Isaiah 5 and 1. Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved had a vineyard and a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it, and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein, and he looked that it should bring forth grapes, it brought forth wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, between me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, it brought forth wild grapes. And now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. And I will lay it waste, it should not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no more rain upon it. They rain no rain upon it. Verse 7. For the vineyard of Yahweh Tazabah is the house of Yasher Allah, or the house of Israel. A lot of times when it says house of Israel, it can refer to as the northern kingdom, and sometimes it's referred to as all of Israel. And it says, and the men of Judah, his pleasant plant, and he looked for judgment, but behold, oppression, for righteousness, but behold, a cry. So we know the Most High cultivated all 12 tribes. The Most High was working with all of us, and we know originally that the northern kingdom went so far astray that they became not a people to the Most High. They became like wild grapes. And Judah, he called his pleasant plant. Not that there wasn't any sin in Judah, but we didn't stray far away from him as the house of Israel or the northern kingdom did at that time. So the Most High, again, is using these agricultural terms, comparing us to the vineyard, comparing us to the grapes. So for being wild and being out of control, the Most High, the vineyard also in my mind represented like what we was talking about in the previous weeks and the previous classes on how we are going through the door, which is the Messiah, and we have to be marked by his commandments to enter into the gates. As he was describing how the vineyard was, he said, my well-beloved vineyard in a very fruitful hill, he fenced the vineyard, gathered the stones out of it, and planted it with the choicest vine. He built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein, that it should bring forth grapes. So he had us planted in a place that was well loved and well taken care of. And I just think about that in a semblance to us being inside the gates, where the Messiah said we're in the pasture like sheep, free to move to and fro. So if we were planted in a vineyard and the Most High was taking care of that vineyard, we were in a well loved, well taken care of place. But since our people went astray, then he says, you'll get no more rain. So now we're going to become dry ground, like it talks about in Ezekiel 37, like it talks about in Isaiah. And that's the whole reason why he has to pour water on the dry ground, because we were made to be so through our sin and through our iniquities. So hopefully that makes sense. But the overall picture is just the fact of the Most High continuing to use um, this term, these terms in relation to his people. You had something up? Okay. So going back to the word Gapon, uh, a lot of the stuff you all already said makes so much sense. And the first symbol, the Ga, being the representation of a camel and even a soldier too, like Abijah said, it can mean to carry something, because a lot of times they had to use the camel to take things to and fro. But a soldier can also carry things as well. So it can mean to carry, to bring something, to flow. We know it means to walk, to move, travel, traverse, things of that nature. Being sent, or it could be sent or sent away as well. The pa is represented by a mouth to speak, or a word. And sometimes I'll give out so many, but I just use the most common one for the breakdown I have here. And then the last one, we have the seed. The seed, the seed, like the seed of a man, is used to bring life, is used to establish something. Those are the two, I would say, most common uses of the na. So we got the ga, pa, and the na. To carry, to bring, or flow. The word, to establish, or life. So Gapon, it can be a flowing source of life, a flowing source of life. And it also can be the bringer of the word that leads to life or establishes life as well. And the thing about these Hebrew words and characters, they have multiple meanings. Each character has multiple meanings, but you should come somewhere around the same ballpark, like a lot of the stuff that was said by Nariah, a lot of the stuff that was said by Zahaba and Abijah, and even you can see it in some of the verses as well. But a flowing source of life, that makes sense to me, because Yahushua said that he is life. He is the life, the way, the truth, and the life for us. And we know that he brought the word from the Most High. He was sent to bring the word. We've been talking about him being sent for like 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks. So that made sense to me as well. He brought the word from the Most High to us so that we can reconnect back to life. While we're right here, did anyone want to unmute or say anything towards this? So the first witness that he was speaking about, where he said that, where it says flowing source of life, is just John chapter 14 and verse 6. Let me just make sure I put the wrong verse. John 14 and verse 6. Yeah, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. As I continue to bring out some of the witnesses about this word, I just wanted to pause right here and talk about another witness from the Lashawan. It's similar to last week, but it's a little different. And it was talking about divine. I was talking about divine and this word, and told him what the word was again. So it said, would you like to explore more symbolism of the vine? And this is in ChatGPT, in prophetic writings or teachings of the Messiah. I said the ancient Paleo-Hebrew word without vowels would be gapon. It says, yes, you are correct. In ancient Paleo-Hebrew without vowels, the word gafin, that's the word that they use in blue letter, would be rendered as gapon. The vowel points from the nikud, which is, I believe, Tazabah, you could type in the chat, the Nazaretes, or either the Nazaretes did it, or, I mean, the Masoretes with an M. But it says that those used in modern Hebrew were added much later. So the original form would have been purely consonantal. That word is always trips me up. But it's basically saying that we didn't have like E-I-O-U used as in vowel signs like we do, sounds like we do today. So every character, like Ga, it had an assumed short A sound after it. So Ga Pa Na, Yaha Wa, Yaha Wa Sha, or Sha Mar Ya. So that's what it's saying there when it says the Nikud and the vowel points were added much later. We didn't have those vowels in the original sound. And for me, I always like to be as close to the original as possible. So that's just a witness for that, like we did last week. And talking about the Messiah being divine and a flowing source of life, or the bringer of the word that leads to life. I thought about what does it mean to be separated from the vine, because we're talking about a cluster of grapes, and these things have functions. So this is a question that I asked, and the source down here, one of them, it was a few sources, but I just put one because you can just type this in on Google or AI, ChatGPT, whatever, you'll get the information. But I did want to at least throw a little source in there. And it just made me think, well, what happens if you're separated from this vine? And that helps me understand the functionality of what the Messiah is talking about. So the first one, it says, once a grape is separated from the vine, it will eventually die. It will eventually die. That already just had my wheels turning, as it no longer receives the necessary nutrients and water from the vine. So just thinking on it from that aspect, Naraya was talking about us needing the water being poured on dry ground. And in the terms of being used as gapon, or as a cluster of grapes, us being in the cluster or being the branches, we receive the nutrients and water from the vine, which is Yahweh Shai. So if we're disconnected from Yahweh Shai, or disconnected from the vine, we have no way to life. We have no way back to the Most High. We have no way for everlasting life. And that just, to me, is very powerful now when I'm seeing what he's saying, why he says that, like, we were called the vine, but he said, I am the true vine. And I believe this is what he meant when he was saying that. It says grapes rely on the vine for vital resources like water, nutrients, and sugar, which are transported through the vine's vascular system. So not only just our water source, but the nutrients and sugar. And you'll see in a second why that made sense to me. But we all know without food and water, we're like that shriveled up grape there. We're just going to pass away. And spiritually being connected to the Messiah, if we're disconnected from him, we just have no way to life. Like I said earlier, we have no way back to the Father. And lastly, it says when grapes are picked, they no longer have access to these resources, leading to a shorter shelf life and eventual decay. So being separated from this vine, losing access to the resources, meaning to be cut off from the Father. to be cut off from the Father. And that's like what sin leads to. Sin is chata, to be separated from the mark of the Most High, to be separated from the Most High's power. So if we're separated from the vine, we're separated from his son, we no longer can get the nutrients we need, the water we need, the sugars or the food that we need to survive. And then Abijah said a vine is nearly, the vine itself is nearly indestructible, even if it lies dormant for years. So we know that the Most High, the vine being Yahweh Shai, is everlasting. But us, we have to cleave to him in order for us to receive that everlasting life. Nariah?
Khan, this breakdown is to me, this breakdown is more proof that this is really the true language and the real characters for the language of creation. Because even in this word Gana or Gapan, as I'm meditating on it, listening to you talk, the word itself to me is showing you that, for one, Yah's law is not done away with, because Gapan, the bringer of the word that has already been established, the Na, because you can look at the Na as a seed or as a root in itself. So the only word that had been established at that point was the commandments that had been given on Mount Sinai. So just in that one word and what you're breaking down as far as Yahweh Shai, the Messiah being the true vine, I am the true word, him being called the word made flesh. What word? The commandments that were given from the days of old. But I'll yield with that.
Khan, I mean, I could see the imagery is there for me as well. Just the reconnecting you back to the root, or reconnecting you to the vine, or being sent to gather us and reestablish us, with the seed. So all praises to the Most High for that. So just as we were saying, that we have to be connected to the Messiah, which is the vine, in order for us to, cleave to everlasting life. So again, I just used this before, but he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Now, John chapter 4, we went over this, I think maybe in the first class, maybe like a month ago now. But this is on the channel, and it's called The Messiah's Words, a closer look at the book of John. I think in part 1, we might have got here, 1 or 2. And let me turn to it just in case. But it's in John chapter 4. And it just, when he said that he was the vine, it's just making me see all of the things that he'd been saying previously up until that point. So John chapter 4 and verse 13, he said, he answered and said unto her. Well, I'll read verse 12. He's talking to the woman at the well. It says, she said, art thou greater than our father Jacob or Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? And Yahushua, or Jesus, answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in a well of water springing up into everlasting life. To everlasting life. So that's why I was saying, when we used it with them using this agricultural term, or comparing us to a cluster of grapes, and Yahushua being the wine, for the grapes to receive the water, and in his terms everlasting life, the water comes from the vines. So we're not connected to the vines, we can't receive the water. So I hope that's making sense for y'all. And also, too, it said not only the water, but other nutrients and sugars that the grape would need to survive. And he says in John 6:35, these things are making more sense for me why he was speaking the way he was speaking. And it says, Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life. Lakam. Y'all know we covered that in like part 2. Lakam, the bread of life. And he that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. Because he's the vine. The vine provides the nutrients, the bread, and the vine provides the water. So we shall never hunger nor thirst as long as we stay connected to the Messiah. Kaya, she has Jeremiah 5:25. Jeremiah 5:25. It says, your iniquities have turned away these things, and your sins have withholden good things from you. So, did you want to expound?
Shalom.
Shalom.
Essentially, I believe Jeremiah 5:25, the context was that Israel was doing, like, sinning against the Most High, which was withholding them of his blessings for them. So he was just saying to them that whenever they continued in sin, the Most High just withhold his blessings. They're not keeping his commandments. So he's turning his face from them. He's not hearing them. He's not blessing them.
God, and to withhold the good things from you, or we know it would have, the word sin basically means to be cut off or to be separated, and then that does go in line with what we were saying. If we're separated and withheld from the good things, withheld from the water, withheld from the bread, then that's why when he says sin leads to death, it makes a lot more sense. It makes a lot more sense. So all praises for that witness. That definitely lines up. Did I? Yeah. So again, this is not a long class at all. But I definitely felt that it was necessary to cover this, and it was something that could give us a great visual. So back to what we started with, John chapter 15, verse 1 through 6. He says he is the true vine, and the Most High is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. So first, if you're not bearing good fruit, then he's taking you away. And real quick, Naraya just championing the verse you said, Kaya, and just kind of saying what I said as well. Withheld from the sugar and the nutrients, the good things, sin separates us from life. So all praise for that. He says, every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. So, we know we're doing the right thing for us to continue to bear fruit, showing our works of following his ways, but also bearing fruit in the sense that, someone showed this to me online, and Most High let it register in my heart. I shared it with Naraya. It registered in his heart. We shared it together with Zamaria. It registered in his heart. We shared it with Zahaba. It registered in her heart. Just duplication, fruit being grown. So it says, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. That's exactly what I was just talking about. And to be purged, he's getting the dross and the wicked things off of us so that we can be used righteously. Verse 3, now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Now, so one of the ways that we have to be cleaned is through the Most High's word and through the Most High's words that he gave to his son to speak to us. Um, and it's also used in a semblance like the washing of the water by the word. And not to get into a whole nother subject, but some people use that to say they don't believe in water baptism and all of this. But it's not. This is not really to get into that. But we believe in both. You have to be clean through the word, but also walking in the righteous acts that the Messiah did and our forefathers did as well. So he says, "Abide in me, as I abide in you." The vine and the grape cluster is connected. Abide in me and I in you. Let's stay close together. Abide in me and I in you. Let's stay connected. Let's stay connected. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, you don't have no fruit to bear. The branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abide in the vine. Let's stay connected to the Messiah. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine, unless Yasharallah abides in Yahushai, no more can they unless they abide in him. No more can ye except you abide in me. Hopefully that makes sense. So verse 5, I am the vine. He's telling them plainly, you are the branches. He that abideth in me and I am him, I in him, we're connected. The same bring forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing, because to be separated from the vine for a grape is death. You're cut off from the sun, you're cut off from Yahweh. The same bringeth forth much fruit if you abide in him, for without me you can do nothing. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered. He is cast forth as a branch and is withered. Y'all know if y'all pluck a grape off the vine and leave it, it withers. It loses its water. It loses its nutrients. It shrivels. It turns colors and it dies. Yahushua was really spitting, as we would say. He was dropping bars on them. It says, if a man abide not in me, if a grape is not connected to the vine, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered. And men gather them and cast them into the fire, hell, the lake of fire, withered, worthless, and they are burned. I am the vine, ye are the branches. That's all I have for today, family. It wasn't a super long class or anything like that. Did y'all have comments? I see some people in the chat. Sheikh Kaya said full dependence upon Yahweh and his son. And Zamaria, he said bars, and he's just laughing. But yeah, he really was. He was really spitting to them. Because he's using the Most High, and his son is using every term the way that he can get his people to understand. So using metaphors to things that they will understand, like a rap song. They use metaphors to things that's going on to the audience that follows them will understand. So that's the same way that the Most High would do for us. And it just made so much sense now for me when he starts saying that, when he starts saying all of these phrases here, when he starts saying the things like, whosoever drinks of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst, it shall spring be in him a well of water springing into everlasting life. Because you are connected to the vine, and as long as you're connected to the vine, the water is going to constantly flow. It's going to constantly flow. Zahaba.
Con, I was gonna say, just like, Aknariah was saying, sin separates us from life. And so if Yahushua or Jesus the Christ is this flowing source of life, if you are not connected to that, sin equals death. So even with that last scripture that you read, you withered away, gathered them up, and cast them into the fire, the lake of fire. It's just death. So just being able to really hone in on that, like you not being connected to the source of life, the water, the nutrients, what it is to sustain us and keep us alive, the commandments, the word, that's life. Ultimately, you being separated, sin, death. So just keeping that in context, and it's plain and clear.
All praises. That's the goal. I mean, that's the most highest goal. He said the word should be near unto you. It shouldn't be something that's complicated for us to understand. Nariah.
Just to land me back off what you were just talking about in regards to Yahushua using metaphors for those who understand um, his slang, if you will, is just like today. We have slang terms that we say to one another as a people that other people might not necessarily understand. And as a result of our people who went off being wicked, trying to be like the other nations, they lost the ability to understand the context of our King, Messiah, and our Father. But those who had a heart to understand and seek, he made it be known to them. So it really is this class is really blowing me away, man. Just like back then, there ain't nothing new under the sun. There are people, our people, who won't understand this because they have the mind of the other nation still. But those who have the mind of the Most High, they will understand these things and apply them accordingly. But how you?
All praises for that. Yes, sir. Um, so he says that he is the true vine, Gapan, the bringer of the word that leads to life, or the flowing source of life, as the vines being connected to the grapes provide everlasting life through the nutrients, the water, the sugar, him being the bread of life. All of these things are connected. And it just makes, when we read the words that he's saying, it just makes it that much greater. When you can see it, you can understand the terms, you can understand how these different plants work, you can understand how all these things work. And if we go back and put all these words together, like lakam for bread, patak for the door, um, mashal for the ruler, and gapan for the vine, like it really helps us to understand, the Messiah's ways and his role, and how he is the one that was sent to bring us back to the Father. Gamaria.
It just brings to mind for me, the fetus connected to the umbilical cord, needing that nutrients and needing that to grow and to be birthed. It just kind of, just the symbolizing that with the vine is just mind-blowing to me right now, just thinking of that. I just wanted to mention in my thoughts.
Absolutely. Abijah said, "Our native tongue brings simplicity to our scrolls," and it really does. When we can, as we continue to learn this thing together, it does make the scrolls writings make so much more sense. Um, I'm not really sure here, but he said, "Please give honor to Sis Joyce's parents until times changes." I'm not familiar, but um, for sure. Zamaria.
Yeah, Salakia. I kind of wanted to all praises that Sister Gamarian kind of came up and said that, because what she is saying is kind of connected to what the thoughts that I was having. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I was beginning to see this, and we're talking about metaphors and the way that the Most High used to talk to us in certain ways that his sheep would have understanding and hear his voice. Um, I'm beginning to see, even when he describes himself as a vine, I'm beginning to see that that's another way of him telling the people that he's not God. Like, it goes against that Trinitarian doctrine, because the vine is nothing without a husbandman. Like, how can he pluck off and be pruned by himself? The husbandman got to pluck off and prune. How can the vine continue to grow and be nourished without the true source of the sun, without rain falling down? So when I see that vine, I know we're talking about Yahweh Shai is the vine, but that vine is even nothing without the source, without the husbandman. And I could be off when I'm saying that, but that's what that was a thought that was coming to my mind as y'all were continuing to talk about it. But you correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that is correct. That's why I really respect the Messiah, because he said, I am the true vine and my father is the husbandman. He always makes sure he mentioned the Most High. And right, the husbandman is the one that's gonna be he sees like, oh, this grape is worthless. Get him out of here. Um, so 100%, the vine is also a part of what has been planted. So you are absolutely right. It's
Mm.
just his role is greater than ours, as his role is the one who provides us the life that the Most High wants us to receive. We receive it through him. So he has the role of being the vine, and we have the role of being the branches. So what you said was absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Um, and Nariah said this is exactly what he was speaking on, wanted to say. He just didn't have time to speak on it. Abijah said, all praises for eyes to see. And that's my goal. I try to ask the Most High, can he help put it in a way that we can understand it, in a way that the audience, you guys, or whoever see it at a later time, can understand um, his words and his ways. It's not something that only one person should get. It shouldn't be something that is super complicated. Now, you might have to read it a bunch of times or rewatch it a bunch of times. That's how I am. I read things, over and over and meditate on it and things like that. But um, it shouldn't be something that's so complicated that you can't get it. And especially if you see the witnesses and things like that in relation to it with the verses, it's not like, don't let somebody just sit up there and tell you what something is without being able to show it to you, or that you can go and take the sources and read for yourself to verify. And just the witness to that, because Kaya, she was already picking it up early and being able to provide witnesses in Jeremiah being used as a figure of speech, and things like that, or being to be cut off on her second witness as well. So definitely brings joy to my heart that not only myself is understanding this, but you all are understanding as well. So did anyone have anything else? If not, then this was the true vine, just kind of going over the Messiah's role and what he meant when he said, I am the true vine and you are the branches.